Church here, and welcome to the Game Grinder, and today we're doing something a little bit different, breaking up the monotony of pickup videos to jump in on a recent trend of tagged videos that's been going around. I hadn't been tagged on this one. But it sounded like a fun idea and would be a good way for me to figure out what exactly I have in my collection. So the topic is my top 5 most expensive NES games. Now I have a pretty humble NES collection compared to a lot of my peers. I have about 77 games, including a couple reproductions and like Kickstarter games, but I don't have a whole lot of expensive games. A lot of that largely being I don't like to spend a lot of my games. I try to find good deals, and of course, as many of you know, NES games just don't get cheaper. So let's get to it then. I didn't go crazy with the pricing, I just used video game price charting, which usually has a pretty good ballpark. Of course, there's a lot better sources. If I was actually selling, I'd be referring to eBay and other pricing sites. But for the sake of this video and keeping it simple, I just used that. So first game here is going to be number 5 on this list, and that is Mega Man 6. And this is currently listed loose at $38. I picked this up some years ago at a pawn shop that I like to stop at once in a while, and I want to say I got this for $15 when I got it years ago. So the next game here is going to be a complete in-box copy of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, and this is listed at $49. And funny enough, for the longest time I had this game loose, and as it goes, I was talking to some coworkers kind of saying, hey, I collect video games and whatnot, and sure enough, turns out one of my coworkers for some reason had the box and manual for this and said if I wanted it, I could have it. I always thought this one was kind of neat because the manual included a Pizza Hut coupon, which I have seen videos of people trying to take in those Pizza Hut coupons to get a free personal pan pizza, and one video in particular, they did honor that deal, so that was pretty neat. I don't think I'm going to turn in my coupon because I don't want to rip my manual, but it's always an option if I'm in a pinch and I want to try to get some free Pizza Hut. Then this next game here is one of the first games that I bought when I started collecting. Of course, when I started collecting again, I was trying to go for kind of those nostalgia games, the games that I used to have as a kid, at least the games that I hadn't held on to. And this is one of the earlier NES games that I had, and that is a complete in-box copy of Mega Man 3. And this is currently listed at $52, which I think is pretty fair for one of my favorite games on the system. And then interestingly enough, I think at the same time when I purchased Mega Man 3, I also picked up a copy of this game, which was the first NES game that I got besides the pack-in Super Mario Duck Hunt. My father actually was looking for a game for me. He saw this, I thought it was the perfect game, of course going by the box art and the screenshots, and I think he made a fantastic pick, and that is Monster Party. And this is currently listed at $56. And again, this is not my original copy. I think the first time I went shopping for retro games, once I started collecting, I got quite a few for really, really great deals. I want to say I maybe got this for $10 and the Mega Man for like $20, but this was years ago when prices were a lot lower than what they are currently. And then before we get to the most expensive NES game I have, I want to give a couple honorable mentions. These two games are not officially licensed NES games, but they are NES games nonetheless, so I thought it was worth kind of giving them a little mention. This one is relatively newer. This is a game that went to Kickstarter that looked like a lot of fun. Turns out it is. It's a pretty unique game for the NES, not really anything else like this on the market, and that is Super Russian Roulette. So I believe when I originally backed this, it was about $65 or so, maybe a little bit more, but there's not many sold listings on eBay, and I think it ranges from somewhere like $125 to $200. But I will say if you get the chance to play this game or pick it up, I would definitely recommend it. It's a lot of fun. And then this next game is a reproduction that I actually won in a drawing for the Midwest Retro Gaming Society. We had a meetup at the Midwest Gaming Classic 2018 and had some little drawings, and I had won this game. I talked about this back in my pickup video from the Midwest Gaming Classic, and that is Mike Ditka's Big Play Football. Now this gets our honorable mention because I can't really find any information about this game besides what exactly it is, and this is an unreleased NES game that was developed, completed, but just never released. Somehow the Nintendo Age forum got a hold of this some years ago, I think back in the mid-2000s, and somebody put together this package, did the cart, manual, box, and everything. They did about 250 copies, and last time I looked on eBay I couldn't find any sold listings on this, so I don't really know much about it past the little information that I got. And what's pretty interesting about this, and I mentioned this when I talked about it in the past pickup video, is the ROM for this game has not been dumped online. So the 250 people that have copies of this are the only 250 copies that exist. So that's pretty neat. But I have no idea what this might be valued at. And ultimately, I don't really care about the value. That's why I didn't know what the value for most of these games were. So then on to my most expensive NES game, and you wouldn't think that this would be the game that would be my most expensive NES game, and that is Little Samson. And I'm actually lying, this is a reproduction.
Boo this man!
This is actually a reproduction using the WWF steel cage match cart that a friend made for me, so just thought I'd throw that in there for funsies. My most expensive NES game is a loose cart of Battletoads Double Dragon, and this currently goes for $64. Now this one, for certain, I know I picked up for $15 many years ago. Like $20 used to kind of be my cutoff for NES games, and a lot of the higher priced NES games have remained high even years ago. So those are my top 5 most expensive NES games. And like I said, I wanted to do this in response. A lot of my other friends had done videos, and I just wanted to give a bunch of people shout outs who did videos. I know a lot more people did them, so I'm gonna miss some people. So I would definitely recommend checking them out. I will try to put links in the description if you would like to check them out if you haven't, but I would definitely recommend subbing to all of their channels. And for anybody who hasn't done a video on this and would like to do so, I definitely encourage it. I'm not tagging anybody in this video, but if you are watching, you haven't done a response video, you don't plan on doing a video, let me know what are some of your most expensive NES games are. I was actually pretty surprised when I looked up some prices. I don't really price my games once I get them, and there was others that I thought would have been a lot more, and some of these I thought would have been a little bit less. But with that said, that will do it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I will talk to you next time on the Game Grinder.